This is the Halting Winter Podcast. Halting Winter transforms leaders and organizations into people and places that operate at peak performance. If you are in need of help, if you have things going on in your life, in your business, here's the truth. We all have things. We all need to be challenging ourselves to grow, to continue to mature, to continue to develop. If you are not growing, you are stagnating. And that's personally, and that is in your organization. So we want to help with that. And so if you're looking for an opportunity to be assessed, to even get a look under the hood of your own life and of your company, we'd love to help with that. Give us a call, schedule a call, go to our website, HaltingWinter, and schedule a free assessment. Today on the podcast, we're going to jump into a topic that I think is kind of buzzing, kind of in the reality of our day right now, and that is this: what do we do with this economic recession? What do you do personally? What do you do as you lead your organization, as you lead your company? How do you win big during the recession? That's why I'm going to title the podcast, Winning Big During the Recession. How do you win? And I would encourage you, maybe you're not thinking about that. Maybe you're thinking about just surviving. And I want to challenge you on that. I think surviving is not the tactic you want to take mentally. I think you want to take the mentality of let's win. Let's use the recession to make us look at actually let's trim the fat and actually get healthy so that we can thrive, so that as we come out of the recession, we come out soaring instead of trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together. A lot of people are going to just bolt down and hold on tight, and what they're going to realize is even if they make it through the recession in a survival mindset, once they get out, they have no momentum to actually push forward. It's going to take them years to actually make up the lost ground, and that's where they'll probably fail. Just because you make it through the recession doesn't mean you actually survive after it. I want to encourage you to take a winning mindset in the midst of a recession. When you face problems, take a winning mindset, not a survival mindset. So what does that look like? How do we get you to not only survive, but thrive during our economic recession? And first, let's just be honest. That doesn't mean that we've got to be Tigger mentalities, right? Remember Winnie the Pooh? You've got Tigger, who's the eternal optimist. You've got Eeyore, who is the eternal pessimist. And then you got to figure out, well, am I supposed to be one or the other in between? Here's the reality. We have to face that there are worries, there are anxieties, there are stresses. Now we have to face the truth of those worries, anxieties, and stresses. Some of those are real. Some of those are real because they are about real, tangible realities, real, tangible things that are going on in our personal life, in our business. But let's be honest, some of them are imagined. They are either possibilities that have not yet occurred. They are blown up exaggerations about something that is real, but the way we are stressing and being anxious and worried about it is an over-exaggeration. And the reality is some of those are very possible, tangible realities that could come true that we should be mindful of. But being mindful versus being stressed and worried about them, anxious about them, those are two different things. And so first, let's just be honest. There are worries, anxieties, and stresses, and some of those are real, some of those imagined, some of those are exaggerations, and some of those are about possible realities that we need to be mindful of, but we need to watch how they impact our emotions. Some of these things externally are costs. The two big things are the cost of goods and the cash flow. Do we have enough cash flow to continue to pay our employees, to provide, right, to continue to get products, to create products, to whatever that is? You have costs and you have cash flow. And those are the two big things during an economic recession that you are going to stress the most about. And there are realities there, but there are also not realities that we are allowing to influence us emotionally towards a negative disposition, that are hindering the actual ability to grow, to actually not only survive, but to win during a recession. So how do we manage costs? How do we manage cash flow? Like Twitter just announced laying off half their staff because I can't remember, $4 million a month or something they lose in money. Yeah, they got to figure themselves out. They've got cash flow issues. Those are real. So we have real issues that we have to look at. But we also have internal, right? Those cash flow cost realities create stress, anxiety, worry. They cloud the direction that we're going. They give uncertainty. They create lack of clarity. And so these are the real issues. Now, some of these are real, but many of them are possibilities. And some of them are even just negative assumptions that we look at a possibility that's negative, and then it just breeds more negativity. It breeds, and just watch that, right? A culture of, especially a workplace, if you're a leader, the culture that you allow, and not only allow, but probably sometimes you are the impetus, you're the spark, you're the fan of the flame that keeps that culture going. So you have to guard yourself even more so, because how you act and how you respond will become, you give permission to the people around you and under you to act in the same way. If you become an emotional basket case, your people become that. If you are, if something comes up that's a real thing, but the way you react to that, if you do not maintain calm and composure and give clarity through it. And again, this doesn't mean that we hype it up and we become false cheerleaders. We try to tigger our way out of it. No, but man, you got to watch that you don't become Eeyore, because that will become infectious. And however you as a leader react, it will be multiplied as that goes down the chain. So we have to be aware that to thrive in an economic recession starts with really us and our mindset. It starts with real tangible things that are coming at us, but the way we operate in them, the way we take those on, we've got to be mindful. And I get it, right? I resigned my position as the leader of an organization I led for almost 7-8 years. I resigned at the beginning of 2022, not only from that position, but from a career in a field for 2 decades. I think most would consider me pretty successful in that field. I started a new business in a new field, in a new market. And I have soaring confidence because I'm a big believer in myself. I believe in the time that I've put in, the talent that I have, the skills that I've acquired. But just because I have soaring confidence does not mean I also don't have emotional mindset things I have to work through. There's been a lot of moments during this year where I've just been crippled by both real struggles that I've had to face and mental struggles that are not real, that are possibilities. Kind of what I was saying before, just the weight of change, the weight of a failure, the weight of things not going exactly the way I had planned, and all of a sudden that's crippling. It's right. It creates anxiety and stress and worry and despair and right emotional, right, where all of a sudden then it creates upheaval in your motivations. Right, I've had to learn quite a few things along the way, and I hope that in learning some of those and facing some of those, I hope to encourage you. I hope that my both my failures, my ability to look and assess and try to learn through this, I hope it helps you steer your ship through your storm, because we're all facing it. We're all in this economic reality right now, this recession, with a lot of uncertainty. We have no idea how the Fed, what the Fed's going to do tomorrow. They say one thing, and then, who knows? I think everyone's kind of flying by the seat of their pants, kind of seeing how things actually work. And that's kind of life, right? No one knows the playbook. We try things, we test things, and we see how they work. So what do we do? Let me give you 4 what I think are keys to not only survive but thrive in a recession. 4 things for you to think about to say, okay, if I can put some energy and some focus into something while things are a bit out of my control, what are 4 things I can do to not only survive this recession, but to thrive in it, so that as we come out of it, I'm already leaving the runway and beginning to soar. I have momentum at my back. So number 1, out of the 4 keys, number 1, guard your emotions. Uncertainty creates stress. Stress creates anxieties. Anxieties create a culture of fear. Fear creates a culture of panic. Panic creates chaos. Let me say it again. Uncertainty creates stress. You're out of control. You don't have control over the situation. So now you have a stress, and there are good stresses and there are bad stresses, right? But uncertainty creates a stress. What you do with that stress, if that stress is a negative, it's going to create anxiety. if you turn that stress into a positive and say, man, this is an opportunity. Let's use this stress as like adrenaline, and let's use it, and let's be creative, and let's throw some, right? Maybe we don't have a lot of cash right now. Maybe we want to be careful with cash, but we have energy. We have creativity. We have a great team. Let's get inspired about something and get as creative as possible. Like, use the uncertainty to create creative momentum instead of a negative stress that then creates anxieties. Because once you're anxious, that anxiety creates a culture of fear, because that comes back to the uncertainty. You're uncertain because you're out of control. When you're out of control, you begin to fear what negative realities could come to pass. And once those anxieties create a culture of fear within you personally, but fear within your team, fear within your organization, fear within your family, wherever that is, fear then creates panic. And panic, what do I mean by panic? Panic is when all of a sudden everything becomes an emotional upheaval. All of a sudden, it's not just the real things, the tangible things. All of a sudden, everyone is finding just anything to emotionally vomit about, because that's what panic does. It creates a sense of panic creates chaos. That's what I said, right? Anxieties create fear creates panic creates chaos, where all of a sudden you're in a culture of negativity. Everything is bad, everything is hyper emotional. If you look around and you go, man, why am I so frustrated? Why do I seem so on edge about everything? It's because of this. The uncertainty created stress, the stress created anxiety created fear created panic created chaos. Guard your emotions, especially if you're the leader. And I assume if you're listening to this, you're the leader of your organization, you're leader of your of something, your home, your family, your environment. You are trying to become a better leader, a better person. Your organization, same thing. Guard your emotions, because your emotions impact your organization. Your organization isn't led by a bunch of emotionless robots. It's led by people who emotions are good, because emotions create joy and they fire creativity. I think that's why the machines will never win, because we are emotional beings. We will always persevere because our emotions drive us in unique ways, in ways that are unnatural. We will do unnatural things because of heightened joy and heightened desire, but we will also succumb to the chaos of emotions, to overwhelming sadness and despair and on and on. So guard your emotions, number one. Number two, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. A great way to actually guard your emotions, that you go, well, okay, Seth, what I don't want you to do is just go, okay, I'm frustrated, so I'm just going to harp on myself. Don't be frustrated. Have you ever tried to quit something, but all you focused on was the quitting, so it just made you think about it over and over and over? See, I always tell people, when you're trying to quit something, when you're trying to change a habit, you have to actually do something with that time, do something that would propel you in an opposite way, right? So if I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to start what? What am I going to do on that? Instead of my 10-minute smoke break, I'm going to take a 10-minute what break? I'm going to do Wordle. I'm going to do something with my mind, with my hands, right, to keep me away from that. You've got to replace. And so I say, if you're struggling with the emotions, if you're going, man, I need to guard my emotions, I have noticed I am down, I am a little depressed, I am a little overwhelmed, I am getting frustrated, and just I feel this, I'm on edge all the time. Okay, what can you do to invest in yourself? Maybe what can you be reading? What can you be studying? What course could you take? Maybe you could do some coaching. Maybe you could do some things that would inspire you, that would help you see that, man, that's right, I'm not done learning. There are new things to learn. There are ways to grow. There are ways to, take your team through an assessment to see, are we using all of our strengths and in a way that's actually putting as much energy behind our ship as possible. There's so many ways to invest in yourself, especially now. Don't be stagnant. Ask yourself, how can I intentionally learn? How can I intentionally grow, specifically while the ship is in the eye of the storm? You ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm? In the movie The Perfect Storm, I'm trying to remember who stars in that. It's Mark Wahlberg, and who's the guy? driving the ship. George Clooney, right? George Clooney. And they come to this, right? They're facing the storm, and it's the chaos, and it's the three storms colliding together, and the boat's falling apart, and all the chaos, and all of a sudden it feels like, whew, it's calm. They made it. The sun comes out, and what they don't realize is they're actually in the eye of the storm, which the eye of the storm is the most peaceful. It's like, it feels like you came out of the storm. It looks like you survived, but you're actually in the very center of it. And now you've got to go through the same thing you just went through to get actually out of it. You may be there where you're like, oh, you know what? It's not that bad. We're okay. And you'll take the foot off the gas, not realizing that the worst part of the storm is ahead. What can you do now to make sure that you are learning, growing, developing, transforming to become a better leader, to become a better person, to become a better employer, employee, to become a better asset as a part of that team? You're worried about getting fired? A lot of people, right? A lot of layoffs. I'm worried. Become an asset that's unfireable. Become someone who is such a key component to that organization that it would never even cross their minds to get rid of you. How do you do that? You continue to grow. You continue to develop. You continue to be someone who, right, can also move if they go, man, we've got to get rid of this. This position doesn't work anymore. But you are amazing. And you're multi-talented. And you've shown that you have a willingness to grow and adapt. And so we do need some help over on this. Can you do that? Of course I can. Like, continue. Invest in yourself. Guard your emotions. Invest in yourself. Number 3, set yourself in a specific direction. So be careful, because in the storm, what you'll do is you'll panic and you'll go, oh, okay, we got to do a bunch of things. We got to button down the hatches, but we got to do here and here and here and here. And sometimes you can think that the answer to surviving is to try to go in multiple directions. I just want to encourage you. I think that's actually the path to rip the ship apart. What you need right now, when there's tension, when there's stress, and remember, the recession we're going through is not just a work recession. This is an all-of-life recession. This impacts people when they go home, when they go to the grocery store, when they choose what weekend vacations to do, how they rest, how they refresh. It impacts their stress when they come home because they may not know if they have a job next week. Like, this is an all-of-life impacting thing. And so if you can be clear at work and set a specific direction and create a camaraderie and a unity on your team, that will create more focus and more it will give your team something to, again, together align themselves on and to work towards, which I think will produce the most fruit in this time. You want to be as focused as possible. You want to get rid of the fluff, and you want to create momentum. Again, you don't want people sitting around, scratching their backs, wondering what they're going to do, how they're filling their time. No, now's the time to be very driven, but driven towards one thing. What's the one thing you can do? What's the one thing that you can say, this is where we're going, and we're all going there together. So let's rally together and let's run. One destination. And that goes into number 4. You want to create then clear strategies. How do we get to the waypoints along the way? So that, why do we do that? Why is that so important? Because, again, setting direction, clear strategies, you do this in a recession or you do it outside, but this is why it's so important. It's so important now because if you have a specific direction you're all rowing towards, it creates camaraderie on the team. It creates clarity in times of confusion. Clarity goes by the wayside. No one knows what's going on. Communication becomes very tense from the top. Usually the leaders, you got to watch this. You become poor communicators because you don't want to say something that's going to be misinterpreted. Now is the time to ramp up communication, but that's why you choose one direction. So you say the same thing over and over. This is where we're going. We are going to such and such island, launch product island. We are going to here. It's all hands on deck. It's all oars in the water. Here we go. And then you set, that creates camaraderie, right? You all know what you're aiming for. The sales team isn't aiming for something else. The marketing team, no, we're all aiming for one direction. And then you create clear strategies. And by strategies, I mean, what are the waypoints you're going to hit on your way there? Because you need wins. You can't just have a win during a recession that's far out. You need to have small wins to give the team like, yes, we're accomplishing something. We are rowing together. We are accomplishing something together. We are having success in a time of stress. You know how to beat stress? Win. Get some success under your belt. That makes the team feel good, makes them feel worth. They're contributors. Everyone wants to be have worth and value. Everyone wants to be a contributor. So the more you make your team feel that, the more they go, yes, they feel a part of something. Remember, there are numerous statistics, numerous surveys that have been taken when it comes to why people stay at a job they have. Pay never is number one, at least collectively out of the whole. It's always they feel a sense of accomplishment. They feel a sense of worth and value. Think about that, leader. Are you giving your team what they really want? And that is something to belong to, something with purpose, something with intentionality. And that goes all the way down. You can say, well, this person just drives a truck. Like, how much? Attach them to the mission. You need that truck driver. I just talked to a CEO of a company where a large company, and they have, it's the everyday common gal working that does the majority, right? So during COVID, when everyone goes home and they work from home, it's those people that are frontline people having to stay and do the menial tasks that we can't live without, right? Think about that. You had food people coming in and packing up semis to ship out to grocery stores. You had people taking your garbage. You had people cleaning streets. You had all these people that you were like, oh, like you don't think about, things just get done. But those are the essential workers. Those are the essential things that you have to have your trash taken. You have to eat. You have to, right? At the end of the day, if your plumbing breaks, if your heater breaks, right, these are have-tos. And those are a lot of the people that we don't send our kids off to Harvard to become plumbers and electricians. And yet, right? And so the point is, I'm talking, and we're talking about story and about strategy and direction. I'm like, man, they're the hero. They need to know because, again, they're not there for just a paycheck. They're there to belong to something. Everyone wants to feel worth and value. And if we don't encourage them that they have worth and value in every aspect of the organization. And in fact, they're the heroes. They're the people that make, right, the white collar people in that organization have jobs. Because at the end of the day, the white collar can get fired. And it's the truck driver who's going to come in and get stuff done. That person stays. So, give yourself a specific direction that you can create camaraderie for the team to get behind and set clear strategies to get to the waypoints and celebrate those waypoints and make it about the team. It's them. They're doing the work. Okay. So let's recap here as we close up. Where are your emotions? Are you guarding them? Are you not only guarding them, but intentionally leaning into the emotions that will create the environment and the culture for yourself and for your team that you want? Where are your emotions? And if your emotions aren't in a good place, really take stock. What is that costing you? What is that costing you? Because there's a cost. How can you specifically invest in yourself? What course can you take? What coaching can you get? Again, if you don't even know where to start, man, schedule a free assessment with us. Go to HaltingWinter.com. There's a button to schedule an assessment. We would love to just get on the phone and talk to you. Hear about you personally. How's your personal life? Because in times like this, you can be so focused on the organization that you forget your health, your sleep, your diet, and your personal life starts to fall apart. You think that's going to get you through the storm? You being out of shape, you being 4 hours of sleep, cruddy sleep at night, you think that's going to give you the creativity, that's going to give you the stamina to weather the storm? No. You need to be personally healthy, and your organization needs to be healthy. It's a great time to do an assessment. How's the ship? How's the ship? How can you specifically invest in yourself? What specific destination can you focus on? What's the one thing, the one place you can create momentum behind to get all the oars in the water? What specific strategies are going to get you there? What do you need to focus on? What are the waypoints to get to the destination? And so again, if you need help, man, reach out. Reach out, HaltingWinter.com. Schedule a call. We'd love to connect. You don't need to be overwhelmed. You don't need to be stressed. You don't need to be anxious. You can enjoy the ride, right? I always think of Captain Dan and Forrest Gump. They're in the eye of the storm, the chaos around them, and Dan finally he's just not going to give in to fear anymore. And so he climbs up the mast and screams at the storm. You don't have to be Captain Dan crazy, but you can enjoy the ride. There's just nothing in life. I think a lot of this, there are realities. There are hard decisions that need to be made. But listen, that's what life is. It doesn't mean you have to Eeyore it. And you don't need to falsely become a false Tigger and try to make things overwhelmingly happy that aren't. But you can lean into it in a positive way. You can be positive. You can be, I think, a healthy leader who continues to create an atmosphere and a culture that's healthy and thriving, even when the storm is raging. The storm will only take ships that flounder. So if you are trying to just outlive the storm by setting anchor, I don't think you're going to make it. You better have a really huge ship. But if you look around and watch big organizations are going, yeah, well, now's the time to play it safe. The only reason they can say that is because they have tons of cash on hand and probably plenty of employees that they can just fire and not even feel the consequences of. But can you do that? Are you at that size? I doubt it. I don't think that's a winning strategy. And even if you survive the storm again, you'll have no momentum. And then what are you going to do? Now you're out of cash. You have no culture. You have a culture of fear because everyone's wondering. There's no direction. There's no purpose. And so now you have a culture of fear. And what are you going to do with that? Now you've got to spend the time trying to rally the troops that, well, we made it. Great. Awesome. I don't know. I think you got to be careful that you're looking at the big picture. You're looking at the consequences of your reality right now. Is that really going to help you? You might survive the storm, but you may then fall apart trying to get to your destination. I want you to go from sinking to surviving, but really from surviving to thriving. I want you to come out of this economic recession with momentum. Do not wait for the storm to pass huddled in a corner. No, how do you win during a recession? Well, you guard your emotions, you invest in yourself, you set yourself in a specific direction, and you create clear strategies and waypoints along the way to celebrate, to help you know that you are on your way. Again, if you need help, insights, a guide to come alongside you and to help you become the hero that you're meant to be, give us a call. HaltingWinter.com, set up a time to chat. Until then, we'll see you next time.